All right, second part of the lesson. This is power of a product. All right, again, power, so that's referring to this number right here. All right, and then product is referring to this multiplication right here, 6 times x squared. All right, so that's where the name comes in. Power of a product. To find the power of a product, find the power of each factor and multiply. So 6 is a factor, x squared is a factor. Okay, now what we're going to do to keep it a little easier today, we're going to let you keep 6 cubed as 6 cubed. We're not going to make you write it as 216. All right, so I guess the short way to talk about this is that you're really raising each piece of this puzzle inside parentheses, and in this one there's 2 of them, to the third power. So we're going to say 6 to the third power. I almost think of it as the distributive property. 6 to the third power and x squared to the third power, and this is kind of what we did in the last video. We'd say x squared to the third power is x to the 6. That's how they got this. So we're going to be okay with writing this answer today anyway as 6 squared times x to the 6th. Okay, and that's how we'll finish our answer. And you can kind of see that symbolically here. I think it looks better symbolically for this one. So it's not just a b to the mth power, it's a to the m and b to the m power. Let's take a look at some of these. So we have 9 b squared, so this is our product. 9 is a factor, b squared is a factor, and we are going to distribute. That's probably not the, I know it's not the right math term to use, but it's something you're familiar with. So 9 to the third power and b squared to the third power. Okay, and that's giving us 9 to the third, b to the 6th. And if you're asking yourself, or hopefully you are, what exponent's on the 9, it's just a 1. It's 9 to the first power. I'll put that pen up here again. 9 to the first power. So it's 3 times 1 is 3, and 2 times 3 is 6. Okay. Many students seem to think this squared has something to do with this 9, and it does not. This is literally 9 times b squared. They are separated by multiplication, so this 3 has nothing to do with that, or I'm sorry, this 2 is not involved with that 9. All right. I'll probably have to erase that now. All right, so now we have a slightly different one. There's a negative number here, all right, and we're raising it to a even power, so when we get farther into this, we're going to call this positive 16, but for now, we're going to write it as negative 4 squared, x to the 6th, 3 times 2 is 6, y to the 4th squared is y to the 8th. Okay, the only thing I want to fix really quick for you guys is when you write a negative power, you should, a negative base, it should be in parentheses. Oops, wrong one. There we go. So you see how I do that? All right, there we go. And let's get started. Continued. All right, we're taking a look at this last one. Again, we're going to say 2 to the 4th, because that's 2 to the first power. 1 times 4 is 4. A to the 12th, 3 times 4 is 12, and b to the 16th. Okay, 2 to the 4th, a to the 12th, b to the 16th. All right, that's and I hope you're starting to see what I mean by all these rules blending in. Power of a product is very similar to power of a power, which we learned in the last video, and it all gets confusing when you throw in the quotient or product of a power, because you're adding or subtracting those when it feels like maybe you should be multiplying them. But this is the time you multiply again, when you got your little guys right next to each other. All right. Some common mistakes you might see, since I'm only at 4 minutes, is you're going to see a lot of kids take this problem right here and say 9. Whoa, that's not a good 9. Say 9 b to the 6th. All right. They forget, because this one doesn't look like it has an exponent. They forget to make sure you raise both factors, or in this case, all 3 factors, to that second power. All right. I want you to pause the video and give these 3 problems a try. Don't forget that this negative 5, when you make it to the third power, needs to be in parentheses. So pause the video, and we'll get started. Okay, so Again, we have 8 times 9b to the ninth squared. So the first factor is 8. We're going to square that. The second factor is b to the ninth. We're going to square that, and that's going to give us 8 squared times b to the 18th, or 64 b to the 18th. And again, we'll let you graduate to that step. If you feel comfortable doing that, go ahead. You only do it with the numbers. If not, this is totally fine. I want to make sure what Miss Waz and I want to see is that you know this 2 is squaring the 8 and the 9, and I think it's very obvious when we write it like this for now. So we want to make sure you understand it. Write it like that. All right, 6 to the 4th. And then, so again, we have 3 factors here. 6, x to the 5th, and y to the 11th. We're going to multiply 6 to the first power. The 1 times 4 is 4. 5 times 4 is 20. 11 times 4 is 44. 6 to the 4th, x to the 20th, y to the 44th. Here, negative 5 to the 3rd power, we're going to put in parentheses. W to the 6th, z to the 24th. Negative 5 to the 3rd. And it matters because negative really means negative 1 times 5. We don't write that, but that's what it means. And technically, if you don't put parentheses, you're only cubing the 5, not the negative sign, which wouldn't matter in this example because it's odd, but if we have an even power, it would matter. And maybe you want to play around with your calculators with parentheses and negative and even exponents and see what happens, because if you leave out the parentheses, your answer will always be negative, no matter if you put it as an even power or an odd. So it's very important you do that. All right. I hope this video helps. And if you have any questions, we'll see you guys in class. Thanks.